So last week, off the heels of a world premiere and headed into the pre-release, we saw a surprised, banned, and suspended announcement, the banning of Zephyr Needle in Classic Constructed. And by and large, initial feedback from the community has been that this makes sense, and LSS also indicated that it was something that was on their radar internally for a few months now. However, there were no changes for Blitz, which was really surprising and admittedly is a little troubling. I really think there should have been at the very least the same move made in both formats. And taking no action now simply because there is no competitive Blitz season coming up, I don't feel is a fair justification. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Alright folks, so out of the gate, I know how parts of the community react to calls for bans. There's the no bans ever meh group, and then there's the don't complain with every release crowd. Now, folks are going to think what they want to think, and that's fair. But I don't believe that today's video is some knee-jerk overreaction. See, there are several cards from this last set that facilitate 2 to 3 card combos that can throw up either crazy damage or facilitate pretty insane things when the health total of Blitz is considered. And I think that for the health of the Blitz format, which has historically had an extremely fragile balance, that it's not only okay, but appropriate to have today's discussion. However, I am also a realist, right? I'm well aware that LSS does not like banning recently released cards and instead prefers to lean into killing older cards, preferably of lesser rarities, that pair with the new toys. Let's start out with Bloodstained Vest. This card is really pretty insane in Blitz, right? In a format where traditionally we question whether or not it's worth playing Tunic because we need access to the resource when we need it. The potential to make 3 or more resources off this chess piece, it's just so disproportionately strong in Blitz. That said, I wouldn't even waste my breath asking for a ban on this because it would just never happen. So instead, that brings me to 2 cards that I feel need addressed and can be done with fairly low impact. The first is Zephyr Needle. Now, in my opinion, this was a perfectly intelligent and logical reason for a ban. The dagger was printed to be above rate, but with a drawback. But as cards have been introduced that essentially remove the drawback, well, it seems logical to revisit the card. And if we're being honest, the only negative feedback I've seen from the Needle ban wasn't actually the ban itself, but rather the timing. And while I get it, I mean, let's be honest though, folks, this was time spent theory crafting before the set was even legal. And from my perspective, as long as the company bans it before release date and it actually becoming legal, I do think that's a perfectly reasonable move. I respect the, calls and complaints against time wasted, but again, the set hadn't even dropped yet. So, as I mentioned, no Needle ban in Blitz for now. The hesitancy to do so is likely due to the fact that Zephyr Needle is tied via Living Legend to Benji. And I do get that it has a relief valve of sorts in Blitz, whereas Needle doesn't or didn't in CC. The logic that Aria isn't legal in Blitz, and thus Needle's value isn't being maximized, does have some merit to it. And yes, Benji starts with lower health. Yet I don't think this is a completely fair concern, because what does Benji do? He throws unblockable attacks, which, given his combo potential for Spring Tidings, which you have to save armor for, makes it very hard to keep off that +1 with Needle. And even so, a broken Needle, as we're very aware, just gets flicked anyway. And the Needle combo line, with the addition of new cards like Yellow Pick Up the Point, and of course Up Sticks and Run, all while generating resources off your vest, not only is it the same combo potential that earned a ban in CC, but is harder to keep him off mask with his unblockable damage, all within a lower health pool. I think it's completely reasonable to ask for, rather expect, the same ban as in CC. Now, if you're a Benji fan that's like, hey, Benji isn't good, let him have his time in the sun, fair, but I think you're also going to be just as sad when he speedruns LL come skirmish, because Benji is very, very, very good with this combo. So I believe you should be in favor of the ban, enjoying the upskilling and uppowering of Benji without just completely making him insane. So just consider that before you smash the dislike button. Now, the other card that I'm worried about in Blitz is Toxicity. Not only does Assassin have a plethora of reacts, but with the new card Kiss of Death, it makes Toxicity represent 7 damage on a flick and can potentially be done multiple times. That's just too much potential when you consider that even if you're playing Prevention, You still have to draw it at the right time. It's so good with someone like Arachne ASC that I've started including quell pieces in my sideboard, which also, fun fact, is extremely limited in Blitz as compared to CC. Now, toxicity wasn't a problem itself until Kiss of Death, really, right? But again, I go back to my baseline of being realistic about it. First, they're not going to ban a new card that's also a Majestic. But furthermore, Kiss of Death is really cool and innovative. It makes sense to me, at least, to target Toxicity, a card that pretty much no one will care about as it's rarely ever seen play up to this point. So that's my case for the two cards. But before we go, I do want to talk a bit about my concern for the philosophy around the format that no changes needed to be made. Because it seems like to me, at least from the way that I'm reading this, the expectation is there that they will do something in Blitz, just not yet because there's nothing competitive on the horizon. And that just doesn't sit well with me, right? We're still playing Blitz at our armories. We're still playing Blitz at the Tap House. And even if we're not playing, the Boogeymans ourselves, knowing that there are Boogeymen in the room warps the format. Now, if I do want to be fair, from the other side of the argument, if I'm LSS, and I know that some people throw a hissy fit when cards get banned, then yeah, I am probably only going to do it when it actually matters in terms of earning LL points. So I do get that argument. Let the kids have their fun, show them how busted it is, and then we take action. And that's fine. But my problem with that is, again, the lack of competitive events gives no way to show how busted something is. Right? We've seen so far that there are no Blitz events between now and skirmish season. So if they come in and they ban this before skirmish season, someone's going to be like, well, it never proved that it was broken anyway. And it's like this giant catch-22, right? Well, we're not going to ban something until it's competitive season. Well, then why not just do it now and get it over with? Because there's going to be no signpost between now and then anyway. So I think the current approach is actually a little more damaging, because all it does is impact the people who don't care about the top tier competitive meta. And if we think about something, what's folks' main primary historical complaint about Blitz as a format? It's that they had no control in a polarizing matchup. So in my opinion, not taking action on something that has already shown to be too good in CC within the Blitz format, which is more fragile, I think it's a mistake. So anyway, that's it for me, folks. I really am hoping that we see a reversal on this decision very soon. Let me know what you think, and go Commando.